Hi, welcome to One for the Road, where we navigate sobriety, recovery, and life in general. Tune in as we share our experience and opinions while answering any questions you may have. My name is Marissa, and this is my co host, Judy.
Hello.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, notify, do all that stuff. I was watching somebody else's podcast and they were like, "Oh, I don't like to always like harass people to like, subscribe, share, comment, and do all that stuff." And I was thinking, I don't either, but just in case you guys forget that that's what we need you to do, I say it every
I
time.
don't like to do it, but I will.
Right. Yeah, I don't like to do it, but people need reminders. So, okay. Let's chit chat today. We got a good topic.
Hmm.
I want to talk about boredom in recovery.
Boredom in recovery.
Yeah, and boredom can be a dangerous thing for alcoholics.
Yeah. Right. No, for sure. I remember boredom in early recovery, and that's not to say that that's the only time it happens. Hell, I can be bored now, you know, but the challenge then versus now is that, taking suggestions and doing those things through these almost 4 years. Now, when I realize, oh, I'm bored and oh, this is whatever, I have some tools I could pick up and do, right? And I have answers. And so, and I just remember like, I was able to look at the boredom as an opportunity. That's how I chose to look at it then, right? Because I was very broken when I got here. And so I knew that there was work I needed to do. And so, there was reading and there were things. And I know that you and I have talked about it, but there was a great deal of fear. I didn't know what to do other than go to a bar and go drink. That had become habit. When I was bored, even if there was nobody around, I was able to go to the local watering hole where everybody knew your name, right? And so that was the boredom reliever for me. And so it was a matter of learning new habits, and the new habits looked like, going for coffee or, and reading or something else like that. I had to think outside the box, and my box was very limited. If I didn't have a drink in my hand and I wasn't surrounded by a bunch of people, tossing them back, I found it boring, and so it was just a matter of like changing my perspective and trying to, create new habits versus using those old habits.
Mhm.
And the way that looked for me is, like I said, I made some phone calls and whatever. You know, I'm going to turn it over to you, because when it's all said and done, I do have a list of things in a book that I'm sure you're going to bring up. So
Oh yeah.
I'm going to let you do the intro on the book and the whole thing. And
Yeah.
then I can pick up with the list of things to do when bored.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Well, as you're talking, I'm like, I wish I had time to get bored today.
Mm,
Not really, because like in early recovery for me, when I would get bored, like that's when I would start to feel like lonely, and that's not a good feeling for me. And I had the same suggestions. I had the same suggestions that I always have on here, right? Like phone a friend, whatever, get some hobbies, right? Like I like
mm,
tried to knit when I first got sober, and a lot of it for me was just not necessarily that I was bored, but it was just like learning new habits, and here's the deal, like you don't get bored at 1 o'clock in the morning if you're like going to bed at a decent time, and I did a lot of things. Like I watched TV. I watched a lot of TV when I first got sober, just because that's not really something that I did when I was drinking. You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
But I got into like taking walks and stuff like that. And I spent a lot of time with my sister and her husband. Like I found the people in my life that were like sober, or people in my life that like didn't have an issue, like drinking or anything. And then I just hung around them, and there's lots of groups for people that are, sober and in recovery. And I was a part of those. And like there was events going on, like I got involved in those kinds of things. And when they would have like Valentine's Day dances and stuff like that, like I would just go to it. Now I hate going to stuff like that now, but when I first got sober, and people would say like, oh, this is going on here or this is going on there. Like I did go because one, I wanted to be a part of like something because I just kind of felt like I was by myself all the time. And two, like it's a good space filler. You know what I mean? So like I saw it out and you can like go online and find, I mean, you can find anything online. You know what I
Sober
mean?
events for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can do that. And, if you're a part of, different programs, like I know NA and AA and HA and all those like A's, like they have like stuff going on at their local like clubs and stuff like that. So, there is stuff to do. You just have to find like where your people are at. And I would just go. Because I just didn't have anything else to do, and I learned really on that boredom was a struggle for me. Like
Yeah.
but I also am someone who like struggles with anxiety a lot too. So like you're never bored when you have anxiety because you're always thinking about something. Like you always got something going on in your head or something to worry about. But I read a lot, and I'm going to segue into the book and then you can kind of give the list because I don't think that there's a whole lot to say on boredom. Other than find something to do if you're bored, because find something productive to do if you're bored, because you get bored long enough and then you'll be popping into the bar to see who's there or, hitting up the drug dealer in case.
Yeah.
And so, but I did read the book, Living Sober, and there's a lot of information in there. Like there's a lot of information. And I know that you just recently went through to make a list, so I'll let you go through it. But I did do a lot of reading too, like on like my ism and all those things too. Like, so when I was bored, I would just pick something up, but tell me what that list is.
Yeah. It struck me, when you were talking about like going to dances and stuff, and you went, even though you necessarily didn't want to, and that goes into changing that perspective again. You know what I mean? Like, what do I want to do? Focus on the not drinking or go try to make some sober friends. Anyway, so a couple of the things you mentioned are on here. The first one is go for a walk. When you're bored, just go for a walk. Read. That was a biggie for me. Exercise. A lot of people get into fitness when they get sober, and there's a reason. Yeah. It's a time filler. You know.
Oh yeah, and it gets all those endorphins going.
For
like
sure.
People become like fitness junkies because you're just trying to chase. Well, because that in and of itself can be an addiction too. You know what I mean?
Right. You got it right. There's balance for sure.
Right, balance. Right.
But
don't go picking up another addiction.
But I guess if you're going to pick one up, exercise, probably isn't the worst one.
No.
They also said museums and galleries. And this is where it comes like thinking outside the box. We were super creative when we drank. You know what I mean? Like you had these brainstorm ideas and they probably weren't all that hot because we were loaded. However, we get sober in a few weeks and we're like, well, now what do we do?
Yeah.
So museums and galleries, doing long forgotten chores around your home, right? Home projects, big and little, things that you put off while you were drinking. Finding a new hobby, like you said, knitting, right?
Yeah. I don't knit anymore.
Right. However, I mean, knitting isn't the only hobby,
right.
Make jewelry or do something, I don't know, or pick up an old hobby, one that you put down a long time ago and just never bothered with. Take a class, go to a seminar or a workshop. Yeah. Again, if you're one of the A's, Google, I'm sure that there's something somewhere, somehow, workshops, seminars, self-help.
I went back to school in recovery. That'll keep you busy.
That'll keep you
take a class, take a whole thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Take a class. A volunteer. People who are volunteering more often than not are probably sober because they're not in a bar. A good way to make friends too. They're being of service and probably people you want to hang around with. Do something about your personal appearance. Get a haircut if you're a woman, get a manicure, do your nails, whatever that looks like. Color your hair, girl, boy, otherwise, whatever.
Yeah.
Doing something fun, movies, zoo, mini golf, go-karting, all of those things that you thought were probably stupid because they would take time away from the bar are probably things you could be doing now and having fun with. And the last one, very last one, the biggest one, make a phone call to a friend. Make a
Our
phone.
ultimate suggestion.
The ultimate suggestion. Pick up the phone.
I love that. And I'm grateful that you like reminded me of that, because I do remember, like you said, mini golf. I did the batting cages for the first time in early sobriety too. Like we went to the batting cages. My brother-in-law took me and my sister and whatever. And I went on a 22-mile bike ride one time, and I was gonna choke my sister when she took me on that bike ride. But like, there are a lot of things that you do just forget about when you're drinking and using. So like, picking those things up. Absolutely.
Right? You know, a 22-mile bike ride is not anything I would have thought to do, you know, given the choice of going to sit on a bar stool, right? Or going mini golf or golf cart. I would have, you know, all of the things I tell myself about being embarrassed, you know, it's for kids, you know, we're allowed to have fun. You know, getting sober doesn't mean the death of fun, because, you know, eventually drinking and drugs were not fun anymore. You know, it almost became a necessity. And so trying to shift that perspective again, you know, embracing life.
Yeah, I was always told too, like, if nothing is going on, plan something. Like if you are home on a Saturday night, like make a couple phone calls, see if people want to go bowling, see if people want to do anything, like, and that can be a lot of pressure. Go out to dinner. Like, I really got into food when I got sober. I really got into food. And, you know, now I go once a month with, on Saturday nights, my significant other, we go with another couple. One of them's in recovery too. And we try like some really like high-end fancy restaurants or some holes in the wall, like, but we really like enjoy food. And so we enjoy like researching it, right? Like when we're just sitting here doing nothing, I'm like online trying to figure out where the next cool restaurant is or whatever, you know what I mean? So like there is always something to do. You just got to get creative. And if there's something going on, plan something, you know, like more often than not, if you're bored, other people are bored, you know?
Yeah.
Or sometimes when you call people and you let them know that you're bored or you're trying to plan something, if they have something going on, they'll invite you. They'll be like, well, why don't you just come over?
Yeah. It was one of the
people I've had over because they've called and I've been like, well, so-and-so's over here. Why don't you just come over? Like,
right. Yeah. It was one of those things that, you know, when I got sober, I made a list of things I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know, when in one of those bored moments, I pulled out a pen and paper and just started to make a list. I didn't even do the thing that day, but writing down things, you know, so they could be planned. And so what, you know, if money needed to be saved or whatever, you know, and so I think that even just planning things that you want to do without even necessarily doing them is still a time filler upper. And I think that that kills the boredom. That brings a little bit of excitement back to your life.
Yeah. And you know, the boredom doesn't last forever either. Like, I don't know when's the last time I was genuinely bored, because life gets very full once you know, like have some time in recovery and sometimes sober. Like you build this life and then you're like, I need a break. Because you are doing all the other things, you know what I mean? Even podcasting in your spare time, you know, start a podcast. There's your other,
you know, and it does happen quite quickly. You know, I remember like at 6 months sober, you know, that boredom thing sort of fell away. I didn't think about being bored anymore. You know, it was just that immediate thing, because that huge part of drinking or being with those people that drank and used and all that stuff, that was an immediate void. And so once I started to fill it up slowly by, you know, it was, I don't quote me on the 6 months. It's not a guarantee for everybody. You know, it could be 3 months for some and 10 for another. Who the hell knows? However, you know, I found that it just didn't happen anymore. I don't think about that stuff. And now when there's downtime, it's kind of cool. You know, like, oh, thank God. You know, so
I love it.
Yeah. Very good.
And that Living Sober book, it's wonderful if you get a chance, you know.
I will put a link in the description.
Okay, yeah,
there's
perfect.
a PDF online which is free, so you don't even have to purchase it if funds are low. There's a PDF, you could just click on it. Yeah. It's
a good read. All right. Well, wonderful conversation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, notify, and keep coming back.
Keep coming back.
That's all for today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to hit the notification button so you know when new posts are coming up. Keep coming back.